so cheap. So, welcome to Warm Embers. My name is Tiffany Wolfe, Yat A. I am Diné and Oglala Lakota. And this is my first episode with Miss Brenna Hanley, and I appreciate her being here with me. So the podcast is to encourage natives and create representation in the podcast community, storytelling, and positivity, and also just to share our stories because we love storytelling, and this is part of it. So welcome, Brenna, and I really appreciate you being here and being with me, and I really appreciate you giving your perspective and telling your stories. So can you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Yes, yeah, it's a Tiffany and everybody listening. She Kiani and Shle. Toy Glini Bashichin, Ashen Ado Tchachini Edeshanale. My name is Brenna Hanley. I'm from the Navajo Nation, born and raised on the Navajo Nation. I have three beautiful children, and I have four older brothers. I'm the only girl in my family and the youngest. My parents are Ben and Ann Hanley, and currently I am residing in Winslow, Arizona. I am a former tribal prosecutor for the Navajo Nation, and right now I'm full time with the National Tribal Trial College um, as the Chief Operating Officer. Thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. I love how you did your intro. I know it's traditional intro. Because as natives, we always talk about refer to our tie to our community, who we are, where we're from. Growing up, I know my grandparents would always have to teach me, like, oh, you have to shake their hand and tell them where you're from, and that's our tie to our community, a tie to our land. So, I love that. Thank you for doing that.
Yeah, that's one thing that I always have learned from my family, is that we introduce ourselves with our clans first, so we can put it out there, and then if we're related to anybody, establish those relationships before we say our government names. So yeah, love
Uh-huh.
it too.
That's awesome. Okay, so now I know that you're no longer a prosecutor and you're going on to bigger, better things. But in that role, could you tell me a little bit about just like a snapshot of your typical day?
So right now, as the chief operating officer for the tribal college, it's a nonprofit organization where we have certificate courses for Native American um, to take and become certified legal lay advocates for their own tribal communities. So my typical day is, getting up as I'm older now. So one thing that I've been uh, doing for myself is self-care. So waking up, drinking water, having protein, getting my son ready, taking him to school, and then starting my work. Um, and right now our course is currently going. So we have a foundational course that's 20 weeks online and then 1 week in person in Wisconsin. We partner with the University of Wisconsin Law School. And then we also this year are offering an advanced course. So that right now we're taking applications.
Oh,
And
wow.
so just a lot of Zoom work too, and a lot of phone calls, talking with students, grading, reading, and then a lot of research and curriculum building and revising. And I love it. I love this is totally opposite of what I was doing as a prosecutor, which was in the office, face to face, in court. So I love this remote work, but that's a typical day. And then I am worn out and in bed by 9 p.m.
Oh, yeah, that sounds like a lot of on your plate. A lot of different facets, talking to different people, very different from like what you said in your office work. So that must take a lot of energy to interact with everyone and make sure that you're keeping everything on track. So with that in mind and being a mother and um the self-care, I love that because that's what I need to implement in my regimen is like skincare. But aside from all of those different things on your plate, And where do you draw your inspiration from?
Right now, I have to say my children. My two oldest are adults now, which is still something I have to remind myself of because I still want to treat them like babies. Um, and they inspire me because of what they're doing. My oldest is a junior in college. She'll be graduating next May. So I draw a lot of inspiration from them. And also my 26-year-old self. She really inspires me because of what she was going through, and everything that she overcame.
Oh, that's
Uh,
awesome.
Yeah. And that's a whole different, probably podcast story.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, we're keeping the format kind of short.
Yeah.
Just to make sure that we're getting all the information in and just like quick bites if somebody's taking a lunch break, they hopefully can use this to walk and listen to. Okay,
Yeah.
so what advice would you give someone starting out, just starting out in life, I guess, because I know that you've switched gears. So what advice would you give your younger self?
So I would encourage myself to find my purpose in what it is, where I see myself going, lessons that I've learned up to whatever point I am, entering my career age. But I would also tell her to have patience, have heart, and have a mindset of helping others.
Yeah,
And last, just not thinking of your career as a job. So going into it with, your heart, mind, and soul, and not just, because I see a lot of people nowadays are working in places they don't enjoy.
yeah,
So
I agree. Because
yeah,
I think about this a lot of what during the Relocation Act and how people were sent out and taught to be maids, taught to be housekeepers, taught to be cooks.
yes,
Like my grandma was a cook at the BIA school, and or go into being in the military. Like these are all like entry level jobs and they are not careers. So I feel like there's a
yeah,
lot of that thought process still around on the reses just to get a job. That's what my father told me. He said, get a
yeah,
government job and just stay there and work. So it's not like
right,
go get a career and enjoy what you want to do. It was more like get a job. And so,
right.
and I took his advice and started working at the local clinic. And then I just didn't find joy in it. And then the one position that I did, I had to leave because the older person was kind of like, I know everything, you don't kind of thing. So that
Yeah,
very disappointing, but that's one of the hurdles. You just keep moving, but still it wasn't a career. So
right.
it's
And
important.
that is so true about our history, and something that you just reminded me that I tell my daughters, um, is that we come from a culture where it's normal for us to be in survival mode.
Mhm.
Is because we've seen our grandparents do it and our parents do it. And, we're okay living paycheck to paycheck. We're happy,
Yeah,
we're still happy, but that's a thing is, and so telling them stories about how things used to be, but where they should be now with now new technology and opportunities. So yeah,
yes, that's
yeah.
so true, so true. So, are there any particular challenges that you saw as being a native prosecutor when you were in that position, and how you navigated them successfully?
Yeah, I think what comes to mind is how we speak was a challenge. Because I was born and raised on the Navajo Nation, and then at 18 I left for college, where experienced my first culture shock of crime, of different ethnicities, of different people's attitudes and their cultures, like the Asian culture and Polynesian culture. Like I never knew or saw other that culture on the Navajo Nation growing up. So now in the legal profession, um, I've realize that we speak differently. You know, we're patient, we're respectful, we listen, as opposed to, and a lot of this comes from court experience, because you'll have those non-native attorneys, legal advocates come in and just, you know, be mean, be argumentative, be,
Wow.
you know, like big words, yeah, straightforward. But when you come into a tribal community, you don't speak like that, especially to elders, to women, to children. So there is a different way you speak in a tribal community versus, you know, in a Western society environment. So that was a challenge for me. And it's an actual thing with where I want people to know that that exists, and that when you are dealing with tribal communities or tribal members, it is recommended and encouraged to be patient and respectful, and to especially when it comes to elders, and women and children, just because that's how we are, that's our culture.
Yeah.
So understanding that difference in language was a big, you know, like puzzle piece for me in my legal pursuit to tribal justice. Um, so it is a thing, and it's all about like this, like explaining to people that it's a thing, it exists, and if you can learn to like switch it on and off and know your place, know your language, not necessarily your native tongue, you know, cultural language, but like just how we're speaking now is
Mhm.
how we would speak in a tribal community, as opposed to like very direct, you know, disrespectful. I mean, there's a time and place for everything, of course. But you know, so that was a challenge that I saw, and something, a way that I tried to resolve or help educate, is just to speak about it, is to help people try
Yeah.
to, so that when they do experience it, they do see, you know, okay, I need to calm down, I need to stop, I need to relax, I need to plan ahead, you know, and give myself enough time when I'm dealing with something in the tribal community or
Mm-hmm.
tribal court, for example, for me. But yeah.
Yeah, I feel like I do that also in the professional setting, is that if I'm in a meeting, like, and everybody's like, bing, 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 all,
Mhm.
and I'm just sitting there, like, taking it all in, because I feel like I was taught also, like, you listen, right? And then you're
Yeah.
able to give your input, but everybody's like, just like giving so much information, and then it's just kind of random, so that people who talk the most and give the most input are actually praised more. The where like I'm more
Yeah.
quiet and reserved and listen, and then I'm gathering like the big picture thing,
Right.
and then people don't see me as um skilled in that area, but really I
Yeah.
am. I'm just not constantly talking, like the Western society. I feel like that's encouraged, is constantly talking.
Exactly. Talking over people or rushing people. Yeah,
Yes.
that's not where we come from. So yeah, and it's important when you're in court. Yeah, when you're in state court, federal court, it's fine. You're on their time schedule. You can have your facts and bullet points and talk the way they talk. But then when you're in a tribal court and say like you have a witness that's an elder, you need to slow it down. You
Mhm.
need
I could see
to,
that.
yeah,
Mhm.
yeah.
Yeah. That's a great point to bring up. Straddling both worlds.
Hmm.
And it's funny because I feel like it's that I think they call it code switching or something, or there's also that meme that's like uh when you talk like res, but your professional voice went to Harvard or something like that.
Oh yeah, or when you're res, but your voice sounds like Caucasian.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
it's
yeah.
so funny. Okay, so what advice would you give to individuals, particularly from underrepresented communities, that want to go into the legal profession?
And this is advice that I would give myself before I started, is to always ask for help, even if you think that the answer is no. Like to speak your mind. You never know who's listening, because there are a lot of people out there who have experiences, like we were talking about this earlier, people's life, own personal life lessons.
Mhm.
You never know like what people are going through. And so if you just ask for help, ask a question, are there resources? Is there any programs? Like just putting yourself in uncomfortable situations, like being comfortable with the uncomfortable.
Yes, that's perfect because
Mhm.
I think at my my age, I'm finally figuring out I think that America culture like tells you to thrive on individualism, like be great, go do this. But in reality, I'm finding out that people who are in these like high up positions most likely it was their network. You know, how they say your
Right.
network is your net worth. It's because they're getting their goal out or what they want to do. Like you said, you're letting people know what you want to do. And then somebody can step up and be like, "Oh, I can help you like this or I can help you like that." But I feel like
Yes.
we're kind of taught like, "No, you do it yourself." But in reality, that's not the way it is. And traditionally, that's not how we were either. You know, we were like helping each other out community-wise, you know? So, I think
Yes.
you're saying is great. Yeah.
Yeah, definitely. Like you just reminded me of that saying of it takes a village to raise a child.
Yes.
You just never know. And so my advice is just ask, just speak, just talk. Don't be afraid.
Mhm.
Because you never know, even if you are expecting a no or no answer, just go for it.
Yes,
Be
exactly.
protective with the good things, the good answers, the good people.
So in that direction, good things, good people, I know you've probably experienced the negative, encountered like a negative situation. How did you retain your positive outlook in the face of that?
So I know in the legal profession, it can be very discouraging and like scary. Everybody's afraid of court, right?
Mhm.
Like you think of the court, you think of law enforcement, people are afraid, like just like kind of like, oh crap. So after a few cases and a few, I mean, cases that didn't go in my favor, I finally realized one day that I did the best I could with what I had.
That's
So I prepped for this case and I did interviews and I collected evidence and I asked questions and I was ready for this case, but it didn't go in my favor. And I was sad, mad, but then after I realized like you can't control things that you don't have control of. So I couldn't I to overcome and stay positive, first I have to give it my best. I have to prepare. I have to know that I'm giving it everything that I got in preparation. And then if it doesn't go your way, to keep myself positive from that case on was knowing that I gave it my best shot with what I had, because I don't have control of anything else information that I don't have.
yeah.
So that's kind of like that's what keeps me positive. That's what helps me mentally, and
Yeah.
then carries over to like physically and smiling and keeping that positive um vibe.
Yes. That's
Yeah.
good. Okay, so speaking of these things, so are there any moments in your career that stand out and were particularly rewarding to you and impactful? And it can't be specific, but just kind of like what spoke to you and you left the day like, yes, I made a difference.
I think the things that come to mind are like passing the Navajo Nation bar exam. So I'm not law school trained. I at the To be a prosecutor for the Navajo Nation, you have to pass. They have a Navajo Nation Bar Association, so you have to pass a bar exam, and I did that without, you know, I did 3 months preparation. I also was a graduate from the National Tribal Trial College, so I was doing that at the same time. And I think the moment that I got my score that I passed was like I was shocked myself. I was happy. I was like, wow, because up until I got my test score, I was shadowing other prosecutors and I was learning the court process. And I was like, man, this could be me. I could do this. How am I going to handle this? So the moment that I got that score and knew that I passed, right away, I just thought about, okay, I'm doing this. This is happening. And I'm like, next week, I'm going to go into criminal court. Next week, I'm going to cover children's cases. So yeah, that was um, what do you call it? Like a surreal moment.
Ah, that's awesome. Woo! I bet you walked away like, yeah, I did this.
I did. Then I
Uh-huh.
called on my family and yeah, so and then I like tell that story to upcoming legal advocates that if I could do it, you could do it.
Mm-hmm. That's awesome.
Yeah.
So in your legal career, are there any individuals who have inspired you to take on this path, either in the Native American community or outside of it? Somebody who just like you saw them and you're like, this is, speaks to me.
So right now it's my current boss. Her name is Hallie Bongar White. She's been working in the Native communities for over 20 years, probably almost 30 years. And she has shown me that as long as you have the heart and mind and you're kind and you're real with what it is that you want and how you want to do it, that it's anything is possible. So
That is
I constantly look up to her. She's spiritual, she's funny, she's smart, she's just that great mentor and role model for me.
That's awesome. It's always oh, that's the one thing I think that to be successful, I also learned is that you have to have a mentor, which I have started
Yes.
several small businesses and I never had a mentor. When I was going into school, college, I didn't have a mentor, like just
Mm,
coming out of trauma and survival. I had no idea like who a mentor was.
yeah.
I went to church actually to find and witness healthy living. I mean, my grandparents had it, but they were older, so I wanted to
Yeah.
see people my age who were living like a normal American lifestyle. So I had gone to church to just kind of witness it and say like, okay, this is how these people are functioning because my parents were not. They were dysfunctional and so, it's so important to go back to having a mentor, to have
Yes.
somebody to bounce your ideas off of. Right now, I have a mentor for a business venture that I'm starting, and it's so interesting because I've never had it before. So I think it's really important to, like you've done right now, is have a mentor, somebody you can speak with, even outside your family, somebody in your family. I know we have uncles and aunties.
Yeah.
Important to have somebody, I think, in the path that you're going because uncles and aunties can't always like if you're going into law, can't speak to that, so that's important.
Right. And I totally agree. It's so important. And that's something that I learned later too, was like, and you can have different mentors for different parts of your life.
Mhm.
Like, and she was just that mentor for my career, but she has become more than just my career, but like a lifestyle and how positive she is and what she speaks and what uh and she's vegan. So even
Okay.
like eating and seeing her and me, like every time we go on work trips, like I feel like I don't eat meat. And the things that I have seen my body like take and how react to it. So now, like, I feel like if I go so many days or so many hours without like some type of veggie or fruit,
Uh-huh.
like my body craves it. So,
Oh, that's
and those
awesome.
are the kind of positive things that I'm learning too from her. So she's a big deal in my life right now.
That's awesome. Yes, I think healthy living because w- we are not accustomed to the Western diet, and a lot of our
Mhm.
people suffer from health problems. It's so
Yes.
important to follow that path that you're on. So that's really great. Okay, so what are some of the specific practices and routines that you follow for like a healthy work-life balance?
Lately it has been, and I started this a month and a half ago, and it's been ice baths, showers.
Ooh, okay.
And that is where I have learned like you have to be find that comfort in the uncomfortable.
Okay.
And now my body, like I want to feel that cold shock. And
Uh-huh.
there are a lot of healthy benefits. So if anybody is interested in that, like look up ice bath, ice showers. There's a
Okay.
lot of healthy benefits to it. Um, but also my mind and my boundaries and having those healthy boundaries, and even with the people I surround myself with, the people I talk to, the people I disclose personal information to, because I was young and I loved Facebook and MySpace. And I used to share everything, every moment, every check-in, like restaurant I ate at.
Mm.
But now I'm different because I've learned these practices and routines that are healthy for me. So whatever it is, um, that whole mindset, I'm almost close to like, because we have to be protective of what we put in our bodies,
Mm-hmm.
what we watch, what we listen to, how we act and how we respond, and when we speak, and when we do speak, the the words we choose. And then those are all the healthy boundaries that I am realizing within the past couple years. So it's working for me, and because I look forward to grandchildren, so
Yeah.
I have to take care of myself.
Yeah, that's so important. I agree. The cold shower thing, I haven't implemented that, but I was like, "Oh, I want to try the cold ice bath or something like that."
Yes,
And but it did remind me of when our tradition that when it first snows, you put the babies out there, or
yes.
I don't know if it's just babies or do you do that? I don't know.
And that's what, yeah, it's everybody. You
Uh-huh.
cleanse yourself, and suppose, culturally, that's you're washing away all the bad, all the past season. You're preparing your body and mind for that new season. And I thought about that when I started doing the ice showers. Is
Uh-huh.
that, is this why?
Yeah,
Like our
right?
ancestors? And
Uh-huh.
it made sense. So
Uh,
I love it. I encourage anybody just to research it because there's so many good benefits to it.
that's awesome. Thank you for sharing that. Okay, so just um we're talking about traditions and our current lifestyles, and I feel like there's not a lot of representation when we go into American spaces. So how would you want to see us occupy space and a creative voice?
I think it's examples like you with the podcast.
Oh, thank you.
It's taking opportunities and making it your own. It's doing the mentorships. It's asking the questions. It's putting yourself in those uncomfortable places, like going to a chapter meeting,
Mm,
going to your council sessions. And
yeah.
you don't have to speak, but just being there is
Mm-hmm.
uncomfortable. Going to court hearings, because criminal cases are open to the public. They're not closed hearings. Putting yourself in environments that you're not comfortable with, taking chances and doing research on what kind of resources are out there. I think a lot of that is the stuff that I tell my kids, my adult kids,
That's
is that you have to
awesome.
have an open mind, and
Uh-huh.
you also have to be ready to listen.
That's great. Great advice. Okay, so now we're gonna kind of change it up. If you could give me two stories, but the first one is like a scary story, and then the second one will be like a party story. So let's start with the scary story.
Like a scary story that I've experienced, or like a
It could be anything, whatever
any
you interpret as a scary story.
okay. Well, when I think of scary story, I think of when I was probably 8, and we would took a family trip to Idaho, and we went, all family and friends went out to eat at a pizza joint, and I went to the bathroom after we were all done eating, and I came out and everybody was gone.
Oh
They
no!
left me.
Oh no! Oh no, that is
And
scary.
so one of the workers actually drove me, because I just so happened to remember that the family friend that we were staying at lived across a big dome. And so when I said that, the pizza employee drove me there, and we both
Oh
knocked
my
on the
God.
door, and nobody missed me.
Oh no. That's definitely a different time because we trusted the person to take you.
Exactly. And I kind of still remember the truck that I was riding in that always like stuck in my mind. But to
Oh,
me, that was scary. And
that is
I'm fortunate
scary.
that I, because we both knocked on the door, and my parents looked at the kids in the room, and kids were looking at my parents and were like, nobody even knew. So everybody thought like I was in the back of the camper with all the kids. And then
Uh-huh.
all the kids thought I was in the front seat with the adults. And so, yeah,
Oh
yeah.
man, that is scary. So, okay, so now can you tell us a party story, something that happened to
Mhm. Oh, man. I think there are so many party stories. And I
you?
love making videos of pictures that we collect. Um, we have uh, a a group of friends who just went to the INFR
Oh,
last
yeah,
month in
yeah.
Vegas.
Oh,
So,
yeah.
I mean, we rented an Airbnb and just adult fun. Like,
Uh-huh.
everybody's paying for themselves. We're not worried about each other. We're all responsible. We know when to stop. And
Mm-hmm.
then we come home and just stay up and laugh and have a good time.
That
Yes,
is awesome. Making memories.
yes.
Mhm. That's awesome. Well, thank you for sharing those. Okay, so now I'm going to go to three rapid fire just to round up the podcast, and then that's pretty much it. So, okay, so rapid fire. If you could have dinner with any historical figure, who would it be?
Gosh, there's so many, but the one that relates to our discussion today is Wilma Mankiller.
Ooh, okay.
She was,
I know she's a big deal in government, American government, and they just made a Barbie doll of her. So that's all I know.
yeah, she's the first female chief of the Cherokee Nation.
Okay.
Yeah, she spearheaded initiatives in health and education. She was a big deal in the federal office of tribal justice. So yeah, I would be interested to sit with her and just ask her questions about that time and how she started and what like kind of questions that we're asking. Like, you know, it
Yes.
would be interesting to get her answers.
Okay, so what is your go-to karaoke song?
Oh, I love on the Brain by Rihanna.
Ooh, I love that song
Yes,
too.
I
Yeah.
love that song. Yeah.
Uh-huh. Good choice. Okay, now what is your favorite app on your phone?
It was a tie between three apps, but I
Okay.
think to be honest, it has to be TikTok.
Ah,
TikTok can be pretty addicting.
I know, I love TikTok.
I could pull up recipes. You could pull up the ice bath. If anybody wants to listen, quick glimpse on ice baths.
Yes.
TikTok is just a good time, a good app to pass time. But I
It
also love Pinterest, and I love lately it's been podcasting too.
Oh, that's so awesome, which you will be
Yeah,
on because I'm gonna post this. So,
I'm
well,
excited for you.
yes. Well, thank you so much for your time and for sharing your knowledge and your wisdom and storytelling and being in the space in our warm embers, keeping us
You
warm.
are
And
so welcome, and you're inspiring me. So maybe one day I'll finally fulfill my podcast fantasies.
yes,
But
go
thank
for
you
it.
too. Thank you
Woo!
for inviting me and having me, and we'll talk again soon.
Okay, bye.